Frank Stella was born on May 12, 1963 in Madeline, Massachusetts. He attended the Phillips Academy in Andover, Massachusetts. When he graduated high school, he went to Princeton University and majored in art history. In college, Frank was inspired by Jackson Pollock and Franz Kline. Frank believed one learns about painting by looking at and imitating other painters. Since Princeton did not offer a studio art class, most of his painting techniques were self-learned. After graduating from Princeton University in 1958, he relocated to New York City. Frank became one of the youngest renowned artists in America. This all began with his first exhibition at the Museum of Modern Art called The 16 Americans in 1959. It was his monochromatic pinstripe paintings that everyone enjoyed. What is interesting is that he gave several of these black paintings names that referred to Nazism. Frank believed that painting was a flat surface with paint on it, nothing more. He wanted his paintings to identify objects as themselves and not just an expression. Frank led the way of minimalist art, which is when artwork is done with fundamental features. By the early 60s, Frank was creating paintings with aluminum and copper paint. He was great with geometric shapes and used straight or curved lines. By the mid-60s, he began using more colors in his paintings, but still using the traditional geometric shapes. Also, this is when he started using shaped canvases instead of the traditional rectangle or squared canvas. Most of his shapes were often L, N, U, or T shaped. The irregular polygons was crafted in 1965 to 66, which Frank used bright colors and simple geometric shapes in his design. Although these designs were simple, it was one of Frank's most complex artistic statements. The irregular polygons emphasized Frank's outlook on flatness because these paintings showed depth and illusion. Frank did this by using space and volume painting techniques. In the beginning of 1967, he began working on the Proctor series. This series marked a new shift in Frank Stella's work. The Proctor series were comprised of half circles, rectangles, and bright colors. These were brilliant paintings. An art critic from Art News wrote that Stella, unlike others of his stature, uses fame as a platform from which he takes the risk of failing. Even at his worst, he's interesting, and each new turn provokes speculation as what he'll do next. In 1970, at the age of 33, Frank was the youngest artist to receive a retrospective from the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. The same year, Frank gave introduction of the Polish Village. This added a third dimension to his art. The Polish Village was made up of paper, wood, cardboard, felt, and painted canvas. In 1973, Frank had a print studio built in his New York home when he began using various printmaking and drawing techniques. 3 years later, BMW commissioned Frank to paint a BMW for the second installment in the BMW art car project. The project he said to be the starting point for the art cars was racing livery. In the old days, there used to be a tradition of identifying a car with its country by color. Now they get a number and they get advertising. It's a paint job one way or another. The idea for mine was that it's from a drawing on a graph. The graph paper is what it is, a graph. But when it's morphed over a car's forms, it becomes interesting, and adapting the drawing to a racing car's forms is interesting. Theoretically, it's like painting on shaped canvas. Frank's career continued to thrive. In 1982, Frank came out with the Shard series. This series was constructed of leftover aluminum sheets. It had sparkling zigzags and tons of different shapes. In the Play School series, he also used mesh, wood, and strips of metal. This series was the next step in Frank's art. In the mid-'80s, Frank began making all three-dimensional sculptures. These sculptures were made out of wood, metal fixtures, fiberglass, and aluminum. Although Frank was moving towards more three-dimensional art, he still would paint the sculptures to bring more life to them. In the early 90s, Frank was still producing tons of new art pieces. He did a mural in Toronto on the back of the Princess of Wales Theater. He also did a mural for the decor at the Moores School of Music Opera House at the University of Houston, Texas. In 1995, Stella revealed 6 stainless steel sculptures, each one representing small towns along the Hudson River of New York. Frank believes the sculpture is just a painting, cut out and stood up somewhere. Frank is still alive today and continues his quest to create new art. Whether it is geometric shapes, three-dimensional paintings, and sculptures, he is still striving to find the new. Frank has been an artist since he was in high school, and to be well known by the age of 25, it is amazing how he continues to astound people with his art. Frank Stella paved the way for the future of abstract art. I really enjoy Frank's art, and I think his art stood out to me because of his simple use of shades, but making it more dramatic with the use of color. The colors used in the Proctor series catch my eye every time. When I see Frank's new art, like the murals and the stainless steel sculptures, they show growth in his career. His first art pieces were only black and white, and through his long art career, his pieces have shown how his art has changed with the passing of time. Frank Stella said, "No art is any good unless you feel how it's put together. By and large, it's the eye, the hand, if it's any good. You feel the body. Most of the best stuff seems to be complete gesture. The totality of artist's body you can really lean on."